Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. I am so excited that you are here today. Um, Thank you, first of all, a tremendous thank you to this audience for coming. I know that there are a lot of other things that you could be doing with your time and with your day. And so I promise that I value your time and I will make this actionable and inspiring and impactful, um, because today is a really exciting day. This is the first of the New Power and the List series with Project Entrepreneur Unmuted. And so I want to give a little background just quickly about what Unmuted is about. For the last year, we have been nonstop, endless Zooms, team meetings, WebEx, webinars, virtual conferences. My Zoom is the most used application on my computer, hands down. And while it's great to be able to wear sweatpants, no shoes, hang out in your house, and no people can only see you from the waist up, it's also incredibly complicated. You want to be heard, you want to be seen, you want to pop your voice in. Sometimes you're irritated with the person who's on the other end. You're exhausted by this constant feeling of being on. And you just want to channel your confidence. That you know, the old way, when you used to be able to know how to command a room, you would walk into a room, you would know how the meeting would go, and not feel like you're digitally being talked over or feeling muted. So this series is about feeling unmuted, about channeling your confidence, about being heard, about particularly people who are very often not heard, finding their voice. And so I want to welcome the list. We've got amazing audiences here today. We've got the list. We've got Anne Shoket's Badass Babes, Big Life Community. We've got some of the Project Entrepreneur graduates and community here, which I'm so thrilled to have. And I want to bring on Jamie Sears, who is the amazing lead of Project Entrepreneur. Jamie, can you, there you go. Welcome to Jamie. So Jamie's official title, and I don't want to get this wrong, is Executive Director, Head of Community Affairs and Corporate Responsibility Americas for UBS. I know her as the fearless champion, endless passion for Project Entrepreneur and for female founders. And I have loved working with you. I am so honored to have you here today to talk about being unmuted. But what I love to hear from you is about Project Entrepreneur, because you speak with such passion and clarity about why female founders need you. Will you introduce Project Entrepreneur a little bit?
Yes, thank you. Let me just start by giving you the biggest congratulations and virtual hug. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna move you to the middle of my screen so I can see you, but as I'm talking, we're so thrilled to be partners with you and excited as you're building New Power Media and acquisition of the list. So I just want to thank you for working with us on this, and just welcome to the list community. Excited that we can be one of your inaugural partners and sponsors. So
you wrote me a note in which you called me, you congratulated me on my founder's journey, which was such a special moment for me. Like, it's new to me to hear founder, and I really love that and appreciate that. Will you talk a little bit about how Project Entrepreneur has really crafted itself to support a large, important group of female founders, but to really dive in deep with them?
Yeah, so at UBS, we started Project Entrepreneur 5 years ago. And the goal is the same as it was then, just accelerating the success and the growth of female founded companies, and to be able to obviously work with partners like the list and you at New Power to provide founders with tools and resources and networks that they need to build and scale their ventures. And so just for those who might not be familiar with UBS, because I sort of just jumped right in, UBS is, you know, the world's largest global wealth manager. And we sit here in the Americas, and the majority of our client base in this region are first generation wealth, and they built their portfolios as entrepreneurs. And so we share that because this is a group that we know really well, but we are also really aware of the inequities that exist for women and for founders of color. And that's really what drives Project Entrepreneur, and why we, you know, have the content and the programming and the sort of partnerships that we do on behalf of the founders in our community and the women that we work with. One of the biggest issues is one that people talk about a lot, which is access to capital, and that is connected to access to networks. And so if we're able to craft programming and bring the community together to equip them with some of those things, we really feel like then they'll have what they need to take their companies to the next level. And I think even before 2020 started, it's very timely, this conversation, and I think that that we want to have today, women were the fastest growing group, you know, in terms of entrepreneurs, and women of color were leading the way. And I think that all of us are just excited and ready to turn to, you know, rebuilding and renewal and all of the things that I think are possible. But, you know, I think just starting with this conversation just around finding your power and kind of leaning into all the things that you want to manifest, including you being a founder building a new company. That's what we're really excited for.
I love how you talk about access and community and introductions, because it feels like such a mystery when you're on the outside. How do I get my business funded? What do I need to do? I've got this great idea. Is it a great idea? Who do I need to, whose buy-in do I need?
Yeah.
And the fact that you identified this problem and built an entire infrastructure around solving it. And I have a couple of friends who are Project Entrepreneur graduates who I think are on this call today, but they have said how crucial Project Entrepreneur is to their growth. So just to identify what the challenges are and to focus on female founders, particularly female founders of color, I appreciate that so much. Before I let you go and just enjoy this conversation with Morra as a respected, beloved guest, tell us, what is your secret to feeling unmuted? When you are in those Zooms, exhausted, feeling silenced and talked over, what do you do?
I think it's when I can remember, you know, I guess the power of knowing yourself and who I am and what I have to contribute. It seems like something that we should just always know, but I think the moments that you, like I've had to summon the confidence to speak up or to speak out, or you know, just be a part of the dialogue if, you know, if for whatever reason that day I'm not feeling kind of ready to jump right in. I think just really that deep knowing of who you are and what it is that you have to contribute, that helps me, that absolutely helps me. So yeah.
I love that. I'm going to hold on to that on those days to remind myself why I'm there, what my mission is, and who I am.
Yeah.
Jamie, thank you so much for setting us up. I appreciate
Thank you.
So
Thank you. I'm so excited for this. I'm excited to hear
you.
your conversation with Morra. Okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to bring Morra on. Let's see, can we click over to, there we go. Thank you. Morra, are you ready to join us? Almost. Thank you.
Hello.
I am so happy to have you here, Morra. You, to me, are the ultimate conversation about this moment in time that we are feeling now, the anxiety, the pressure, the always on. And I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction while you sit there and just listen to the praise I'm going to heap upon you. Morra Aarons-Mele is the author of Hiding in the Bathroom, the host of the podcast, The Anxious Achiever. And we've had an amazing conversation about both of those things are your personal business, but you are also the founder of Women Online, which is one of the original social impact agencies to see women as influencers and the key to spreading your message. And so I love that, like, we could take away all the that you have these two amazing platforms to stand on, right? That, like, the message that you have and the business that you have built are so strong. And I just want to give one very personal anecdote. Morra and I met when her book came out, Hiding in the Bathroom, and I went to her launch party, which was amazingly well attended and so beautiful. And I had a copy of her book with me in the bathroom, and another woman came up and she said, I am dying to read that book. I'm desperate to read that book. And so I gave Morra's copy. I gave my copy of the book to this woman because she was so hungry. But before I gave it to her, I Instagrammed it, and it was probably the most popular post that I had done that entire year. Like, you have totally struck a chord. Everybody feels this, I just want to hide in the bathroom moment when we're in a social situation. And so I thank you for giving voice to something that is that's so hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about anxiety and to be honest about it. So welcome, Morra. Thank you for being here today.
It's such an honor to be here. And of course, Hiding in the Bathroom came from a conversation via email on the list. So how fitting.
I love that. I want to start with one of the things that you have said as your mission, which is normalizing anxiety, which this year, anxiety has become pretty normal for all of us. We can't avoid it. And I'm so grateful that we're able to talk about it. Will you talk in particular about ambition and anxiety for women? Like, what is the intersection? How are the two intertwined?
I think that ambition and anxiety, well, they're intertwined for everyone, but especially for women because of the mixed messages that we get sort of from childhood, right? I know the answer, but should I raise my hand because I don't want to seem like I'm talking too much or I'm too smart, right? All the way up until, am I making everyone happy in my life? Am I doing the right thing? I could do X, Y, and Z, but I chose Y. Is that right? I mean, I think that women are sort of, especially our generation, we're in a transition and we just get so many mixed messages and it's really, really hard. And I think that, though, you need to include achievement in the mix here. So ambition, anxiety, achievement, right? Because ambition doesn't exist without achievement, obviously. And for so many women, our achievement has become so mushed together with anxiety. Because sometimes I think we don't know who we're achieving for.
Oh, that's
or if what we're achieving is really what we want, or if it's what everyone else, our coach, our mentor, our mom, our dad, our first boss wants. We're so excellent. We're so driven. And we're so anxious about getting it all done and pleasing everyone. And so in a way, anxiety and achievement feel like wine and cheese, like natural pairing. And I think the challenge is to disentangle anxiety and achievement and ambition, and to really step back and achieve because you want to.
I used to say that it was my mission, and I've changed this, but I used to say it was my mission in life to give women the confidence to walk into any room and own it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to one of your podcasts in which you said that is the problem, right? This idea that we have to be on all the time, that we have to walk in the room, that we have to be seen and have to have our presence known. And I realized, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm part of the problem rather than the solution. And so I'm so glad to talk to you about how can we be part of the solution? Like, how can we change because my whole mantra is changing the idea of what it means to be powerful in the world. That's what new power is to me. It's about, we have these old ideas, right? The old idea is walk into the room and own it, right? There's this really narrow slot that we had to fit ourselves into.
Well, it's the totemic leader. It's the white guy in the suit in the front of the room telling everyone, command and control, and charming everyone, totally. And taking up all the air.
So all right, I get it. I'm going to deprogram my idea of what a leader looks like. But that is hard. How do we see leadership, see power in people who aren't commanding the room, who aren't walking into the room like they own it? How do we make space for a new idea that isn't that one?
Well, here's the tricky thing, Anne, is that I don't disagree with you about owning the room. Everybody who's going to be a leader, whether they are shy, introverted, have crippling social anxiety, needs to understand that there will be a time when they need to walk into the room and own it in their own way. Now, they don't need to come in, I have this character in my head, I call him Todd from sales, like we've all worked with a Todd from sales. How you doing? Oh, it's great. Saw you out on the links last week. Like that's our old fashioned version of kind of owning the room. The key is understanding two things. What is my authentic way to own this room? And then number two is learning how to perform. What I learned from studying happy introverts from my book, Hiding in the Bathroom, is that a happy introvert is someone who can come in, own the room, think about Oprah, and then say, okay, I'm tired now, I'm done, I did a great job, I'm gonna go be alone for 2 hours. So it's really about learning that owning the room is a performance, it's a skill, just like doing Excel or learning how to run a great meeting. You need to know how to do it, and then you need to know, okay, well, maybe I need a break. And then you need to understand, and this is where time and learning comes in, that I don't have to look like Todd from sales. I can be me.
Yeah. I think, poor Todd from sales.
I know, sorry, Todd.
But I do, one of the things that I often say is like, you see that girl in that cafe over there with green hair? Like that girl is new power, right? She's there. She is being herself the way she wants to be. And we have to learn not to discount her ideas because it comes with a package that doesn't look like traditional corporate Todd from sales. Yeah.
And I think we understand that. And I think that we're evolving from that. And that's the exciting thing about now.
Well, that's new. That is new power. That is my mantra. That is my hashtag. That is everything. I want to dial into what you said about it being a performance, right? Because despite the fact that I am very often on all my Zooms in sweatpants and no shoes, I still feel like it's not a phone call, it's a performance, right? It is, we're on. And what does that do to us when we are constantly performing?
It drains us. I mean, imagine, I think a lot of us in this new Zoom reality, at first when it all happened, everyone said, oh man, this is nothing. I'm going to sit in my sweatpants and, just be on calls and Zooms all day and I'll just eat and never leave my house. That's easy. It's not easy. It's exhausting. Imagine if you were on stage for 8 hours a day performing under lights. You would be exhausted. And so I think that what we have to understand is that we are performing. This is work. It, in a way, it's harder than being with each other, because at least before, when I would walk into a meeting, I'd have a cup of coffee and I'd get the human energy and I'd get the buzz and then I would leave. Right now, we never get to leave. The minute we close the Zoom, our Slack bings, right? I mean, there's new data coming out showing that we're actually working more than ever and we're performing all day. And so the first step is really being honest that this is exhausting. This is hard. And I need to put an infrastructure in place that's going to help me get through it.
We just got a Q&A pop up. And that brings me to, I want to answer this question, but one of the things that I should tell the audience to remind is please use the Q&A. I'm sorry, I forgot to remind you. Please use the Q&A. We can see your questions and conversations, and I want to make sure that we are serving you. So, note to the audience, please use the Q&A to send us your thoughts and comments. But there's a great point that says that this performance doesn't feel authentic, right? That it feels like you're not being yourself. Can we close that space? Does the performance have to be on, right? Or can you close the space so it feels like, it feels more authentic, that you are drawing people into your authentic, natural, normal self rather than meeting them where they are?
I think this is why it's so exciting to be a founder, and it's also scary as hell. Because depending on where you are in your career, you may not be able to alter the performance, right? You may have to sit in the meeting and look interested in what your boss is saying, and that's where you are in your career. I think that the reason why I am such a proud, anxious founder is that you are able to set norms, and you are able to say to everyone, this is a hard time. I'm feeling like this is a hard time. I don't know what this is going to look like in 6 months, but here's what I know. We're going to take the next 30 minutes. We're going to have a really good conversation. Here's the agenda, and you can create a holding environment. And I think that what this opportunity offers for founders is to really become their authentic selves. And especially if you're an anxious person and you sort of have that natural introspection and empathy and questioning nature that a lot of us do, channel that into your leadership. Take care of your people. Create an environment where people feel comfortable saying, this is hard.
That's a new idea, right? To acknowledge it's hard. We're all feeling stressed and anxious and depressed and the unknown ahead, right? Like a lot of people look to their leaders to say, well, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? What's the plan?
Right.
I think that's such a new idea, to even acknowledge that you don't know. Where are we going to be in 6 months? I have no idea.
I don't know, but here's the nuance, right? Is that you can't have an on-camera meltdown either, right? As a leader.
I'm writing that one down. No.
My therapist friend, Carolyn Glass, always says to me, no mess. Your employees don't need to see your mess. Your investors don't need to see your mess.
Right.
But they can see your humanity. I always come back to the research of Amy Cuddy, who talks about the ideal leader, and she's done lots of research on this, as being competent yet vulnerable. Open and human yet competent. And I love that. And we women are so good at that. It's opening up enough vulnerability and saying, I'm right here with you. This pandemic sucks. It is scary. I'm anxious. But I'm still your leader. And here's my roadmap for helping us get through an uncertain time.
Do you break down in private? Do you have those messy moments? You have somebody to have the mess with.
You have to have your real talk squad. Like, it is unhuman. No human can hold it all, right? And of course, if you watch any biography of a great leader, right, there's always the moment. I always think of Churchill breaking down to his wife, right? There's always the moment, because you're human. You've got to set up the infrastructure so that you have people who you can really talk to. And that's where peer networks are so important. I mean, I'm a huge believer in therapy. I'm a huge believer in mentorship and coaching, but I also think that having a sort of, I call it my real talk squad is important.
Let's talk about that for a minute. The power of networks and communities, particularly this year. And my communities have been so crucial. Like, there were the early days. We can have real talk here on this conversation?
Absolutely.
The early days where I was just staring at the walls, like completely lost with how to put one foot in front of the other. And I'm a very one foot in front of the other person. Like, if you can't, I say, the only way out is through, right? Like, I'm not a hiding in the bathroom person. If there's an uncomfortable challenge, if there's an awkward situation, if there's an unknown, I'm like, well, let's just go. But at the beginning of this pandemic, I really didn't know how to put one foot in front of the other.
Frozen. A lot of us were frozen.
And And the women in my communities, I don't think that they had the answers either, but just being around them and hearing their support and their offers of support was really the most valuable thing for me. Let's talk about how can we be more than staring at the wall with our communities? Like, how can we use those communities to support us better?
I think by starting with being honest about your nature. I mean, I wish I were more like you, Anne, but I'm an anxious person. So when things, I'll never forget the week that South by Southwest canceled. I lost so much business. I mean, you know, I run a small business. I was for sure, we're going out of business. We're bankrupt. That's it. I was a puddle, and you know, everything felt really out of control. And I think that people like us who are ambitious and who are achievement oriented, we work hard to keep a veil of control. And this pandemic has shown us that is an illusion. So I'm sitting here, I'm crying. I'm definitely going bankrupt in my head. And my business partner, Jen Vento, was like, you know what, Morra, let's look at the numbers. And we looked at spreadsheets and we revised our forecast. And she was there for me with numbers because that was how she could be there for me. And it was so transformative because it really showed me, and I always come back to this, you know, that I need someone in my life who is about numbers, who is about, here, is it possible you're going to go bankrupt? Yeah, it's always possible. Is it probable? No, because here's the spreadsheet. And so I think it's really about understanding yourself and then trying to create a community of people who aren't always like you.
That's so great. It's the swirl of anxiety, right? It's when you can like boil it down and look at the facts that can help you put one foot in front of the other.
Well, because remember, anxiety and fear are unreliable narrators, right? And so if you are the kind of person who can get caught up in that, and all of us probably, even if we weren't like that before, have experienced that this year, you need to have someone who can sort of stop the spin and say, okay, let's look at this. You know,
I love that it's your real talk squad.
Yeah.
2 questions came in that sort of are 2 sides of the same coin. And I want to talk about the ways in which feeling muted sort of hits differently depending on where you are in the hierarchy. So you talked about what it's like to be a manager. And so the question came in, what can we do as managers to support our teams? But then another question came in that said, do you have any advice for college graduates? And so that's a very different, that's a different feeling of feeling muted than somebody who is their boss. Talk to me about how feeling muted manifests itself differently depending on where you are, and how can we address that sort of holistically?
It's funny because my mind goes to networks again, right? I mean, I think that there are realities, and I feel for college graduates right now. It is tough out there, but I think that this is a time where you need networks more than ever to feel unmuted, a place where you can have your voice get heard. Part of what I think is so hard about right now, because everything feels so big, is that those of us, if you're feeling scared and unconfident, you just feel like no one's hearing you. There's just so many bigger problems out there. Why does it matter what I think? And that's actually not true. Like, you have the power to affect change and support other people, no matter if you are just starting out or you are a manager. So if you're a manager and you manage a team and you feel that team, we can feel it. Even on Zoom, they're disconnected, they're disengaged. Ask the team, start with the basics. What would make your day better? Can I give you an hour back in your day to have some quiet time? Can we turn off Slack? Can we switch off maybe 2 Zoom meetings a day and just do phone? Because actually research shows that we communicate better on audio than video in a lot of ways. We can pick up emotion and nuance. Have those kinds of conversations. In that sense, you are helping your people with their mental health and feel heard. And you have that power as a manager, right?
Yeah.
Give them back an hour a day. give them a break. Sorry, you're going to say something.
Well, so and then what does that manager do when she comes home at the end of the day? How does she manage her own internal dialogue and reclaim her power?
Well, it depends where she is in her journey. You know, if she's the kind of manager who's been in therapy for 10 years and she can label her feelings, if this feels new to you, and it feels new to a lot of us, right? Because these are truly unprecedented times. Or you are that college student, you know, and your experience is new, is to sort of label how you're feeling. I mean, this is a classic technique, is to say, wow, I feel so upset. What happened today to make me feel so upset? What set me off? What triggered me? Is it an email that I got? Is it that I checked Twitter right before a big meeting and the news was so scary and I was unfocused during the meeting? Play detective. That's a really, really good strategy when you're feeling overwhelmed.
So the glass of wine is like, it's not helpful.
Well,
or maybe 2 glasses. No, okay. That's not helping.
Like, real talk, I'm so perimenopausal that my old standby for 20 years was many glasses of wine. And unfortunately now I can't sleep if I drink wine. So I've had to flip the switch. But yes, have the wine, but have the conversation, because I think that part of what is so hard about right now is that we are just flooded by feelings, and taking a step back and saying, "Whew, what set me off?" is a really good place to start.
All right. I like the idea of taking a moment to name your feelings, and then maybe, I don't know, what do you do as your end of the day rituals? It sounds like you really have, in addition to your advice to everyone, what does Morra do when she's like wrapping up a crazy day?
Well, you're assuming I take my own advice, which is, which is my struggle. What do I do? So I have worked from home since 2006. And I have also learned by studying happy and successful introverts that it's all about managing your energy throughout the whole day. So I haven't had really an end of day for many years.
Yeah.
Because and this is a luxury, but it's also something I've created for myself. And in the pandemic, I think a lot of us are actually adopting different work styles. Like, I kind of like to finish my day at 3 because my energy dips, and I get outside or I do something that's not work related if I can. And then I have kids in the evening, and then I like to come back online and work late. Now, I know that that is not great for people who might work below me. I don't want them to expect that. But I think also one of the things that you could think about now, if you have a little more flexibility in your schedule, this is an upside to our Zoom life, is, gosh, if I have 2 hours without meetings during the middle of the day and I'm really tired and it's a beautiful day, I can get outside. Maybe I could do my work at another time. You know, I think we've all been so conditioned to think of our day as beginning in the morning and ending in the evening. And it's really about harnessing your energy and chunking your time. I call it managing your pace, place, and space.
I love that. I also love one of the things that I talk about a lot is this pressure to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That we feel. And the Instagram, the idea of that, like, even Instagram makes it worse, right? Like, we have to be out there hustling, grinding. I heard you say, you called it entrepreneur porn.
Entrepreneurship porn, yes.
And the idea even that you say you take a break in the middle of the day, right? That you
I go grocery shopping. Like, I tell my clients this at this point. It's a little embarrassing. Like, oh, sorry, I'm grocery shopping. It's 1 o'clock.
To be that candid and authentic and aware for yourself, and to be able to opt out of that entrepreneurship hustle, rise and grind porn, I think is just, even to hear you say it actually is great balm. I really feel like that's an important message for everybody here to recognize that that is not the key to success, that endless and the endless hustle, and at somebody else's. You said something about the things we should do, right? That how do we do all of the things that we should do, and go grocery shopping when you need to go grocery shopping, because that's how you keep your energy going throughout the day. I think that is really, really important. I'm looking at the questions here. We have one from a woman who wants to talk about the role of true presence versus performance, and understanding, owning your true essence, being grounded and connected with oneself, and energetically connecting with others, because that's the other piece, is that when you protect your energy, right, you can use that to connect with someone else. Do you have those gear yourself up tricks that will help you tap into presence versus performance?
100%. But I'm going to confess that Zoom has really messed with them, because I have social anxiety. And so for me, even at my ripe old, I've been working for many decades, just picking up the phone to call a client still to this day fills me with anxiety, and I don't want to do it. Some mornings I wake up and I cancel my morning because I'm so filled with bad feelings. That's who I am. And it used to be in the old times when I would leave my house and go see people, I would get that energy because I am human and I would love to connect to people. And now when I have to get ready to be on Zoom, it's harder. And I think a lot of people feel that way, you know, like we're in our home environment. It's an intimate environment. It's a sweatpant environment. And all of a sudden we have to be called on to go on screen, and it's weird. And so I've had to sort of adapt my tricks to the screen. And I think part of it is really still preparing, and every day, and this is a really good trick, is sort of making a schedule and thinking about the times when you need to be on, and remembering why you're there, why you do it, really feeling ready, and building in enough breaks for yourself, like not kidding yourself that you're superhuman. Because the truth is, with Zoom, the connections are harder. Like it takes a way better actor than me to authentically connect all day long on screen.
I loved that when Jamie said that she needs to remind herself why she's there, right? That you, because it's easy to get distracted and think you need to answer every question, be in everything. Oh my goodness, that person said something. It's, you know, it's zipping by so quickly. But to realize that if you make one contribution and it's the thing that you are there to contribute, then that is meaningful and keeps you from, just like you said, the spiral, keeps you focused.
Well, and the other thing is to think about the meetings in which you are presenting versus in which you're sort of a player. And data show that the meetings in which we're a player on Zoom, when we get sort of bored and distracted, it actually makes us depressed. It's not you, it's your brain. And so the meetings that you're performing and you have a role, I think in a way are easier. It's the meetings where you feel like, why am I here? You know, I'm getting distracted. Part of the way that I sort of keep myself engaged is I take notes, and I like to send an email afterwards. I like to write more than I like to talk because I get nervous. And so some meetings I will sort of speak once so that people know I'm there and I assert my presence, but I'll sort of try to be more thoughtful. And that's my role, if that makes sense.
I love that. I love the assert your presence. And you also said, and it only needs to be done once. And there was something in your work, I can't remember if I was watching a video or I was reading something that you'd written, where you talk about when you're walking into a room, which we're not doing so much these days, but I very often will like make a list of the 3 people I need to talk to those people, and then dip out.
Totally.
That's how I keep myself from hiding in the bathroom. There's a couple of questions that have come in, which are really provocative, that I would love to explore with you, which is people who lost their jobs in the last year. They've been laid off, furloughed. They're going through a career change. That kind of unmuted isn't feeling like someone's talking over you. It's feeling like, what am I going to say, and who am I going to say it to, and how do I navigate that anxiety? let's explore that a little bit. Talk to me about, what do you do? How can we navigate a career change, a layoff, a furlough now?
First, it's hard. And I think that this is where two sort of important tricks to your brain, I think, is really key. One is to not get into long-term thinking and really try to keep it in the short term.
Oh, good.
And this is something that I've also learned from sort of studying anxious achievers, is that we get into trouble when we spin out consequences. And it is really easy right now to do that. And so I think that, again, keeping focused on the to-do list of the day. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to email these 3 people. I'm going to make sure that my LinkedIn is 100% on point. X, Y, and Z. Oh, that was a good day. I've done enough. Oh, good job, Morra. You did a good job today. That was a good day. And not going into 6 years from now, 3 months from now, etc. Like really trying to train your brain, because it is hard. And then the other thing, which is really a challenge for all of us, especially when you've been successful and you've achieved, is feeling shame and feeling embarrassed, you know, and like somehow this is about you. And it's not about you. And there is no shame. And that is work to do, but I just want everyone out there to hear that, you know. And
let's say it again. Make sure everybody heard it. This is the thing. This is the revelation.
Well, because I know a lot of people who have been perfect for so long and worked so hard. And yeah, I've lived with it. And the shame is it's hard. And so I just wanted, it's not you, right? It's the globe, it's the pandemic. I don't want to say it's out of your control, because that might make you feel helpless, but I think trying to not internalize shame right now is really important.
And to acknowledge that things have changed, goals have changed, the markers that we have judged our careers and our lives by.
Oh my God. You know, when I took a PPP loan for my small business this spring, at first I felt very ashamed. I don't want to take money from the government. That means I'm a failure. And again, it was by talking to people that I realized, this is out of your control, Morra. Take the damn money. You know, actually, my banker said, Morra, take the damn money. And then I tried to make a point of telling everyone that I took a loan, you know, because like, it wasn't my fault.
That's amazing. And you must have done that kind of transparency and authenticity must have done so much to help other people feel unashamed, to feel like the support is there and they need it and they should take it.
I hope so. I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable to admit that you need help, but I think it's where we are all getting. I think we're all working on that in these changing times.
That is so powerful. All right. I want to take this conversation into one very nuts and bolts, very strategic place for this audience.
Okay, I'm ready.
I loved this questions. I'm like loving all of everybody's questions, and I'm so thrilled. Everybody is so deeply engaged. I appreciate it so much. I want to, you have some expertise and some exercises that we all can do to center ourselves, to keep the anxiety. And so no matter why you're feeling the anxiety, right? Oh, and do we need to take off the list? Homeschool, job loss, small spaces and lots of stress, right? New guidelines, whatever it is. Let's do some breathing.
Do some breathing. But first, can I just say one other thing? And this is, my husband had to take my phone away from me. He said, like, don't check Twitter during a day when you have to do a really great job on Zoom. Don't do it to yourself.
Is Twitter the worst offender?
Well, if you're following the political news and the COVID news, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Or if you're subject to FOMO about feeling bad about yourself.
Okay.
Before a job interview, don't check LinkedIn. Protect yourself. Be good to yourself. Okay, so are we ready to breathe?
I think we're ready to breathe. I'm going to breathe. Everybody in the audience, this is one hard and fast, one foot in front of the other skill to keep you centered and keep your anxiety at bay. So Morra's going to do it. I'm going to do it. Let's all breathe together for a minute.
Okay. We're going to do a belly breath, but we're also going to do a sort of visualizing, relaxing here, because if you know me, you know that I am a clencher and I have migraines. And Zoom makes our posture terrible and adds to clenching. And the other thing is that when we feel anxious, we hunch because we want to protect ourselves. And that's really bad for our muscles, and it gives us headache, and it mutes us because it physically constricts our breathing. So let's unmute by opening up. Put your feet on the ground. Make a nice right angle with your knees. Chin sort of tucked but up, looking ahead, not like you're looking down at your texts. And I want you to feel energy coming up from the floor and through your legs and like shooting out of your head, like Athena. Like light. I like to see light. And then I want you to feel your jaw and your shoulders and relax them. Let them down. Literally unclench your shoulders. And then breathe from your belly, not from your chest, from your belly. Let it come up into your chest. Hold it for just a quick second. Let it out of your belly first, and then out of your chest. Hold it. Now, this is something you can do anytime. And not only will it help you calm down and connect, but it will literally open up your voice, which I think is super cool.
I hear that differently in your voice. Just putting my feet on the floor and imagining the energy coming up through my head, just that visualization was very impactful to me. I really, I can imagine using this often and all the time. Thank you. Thank you for leading us through what could have been a really weird woo-woo moment, but ended up being like really probably one of the best parts of my day. Morra, you have been wonderful, amazing, fantastic. I am so thrilled to have had you on our first unmuted conversation. Audience, thank you for being here. I want to get everybody out the door for their 1 o'clock meetings and be respectful of your time. Jessica, can we just pop up the slide so people can get in touch with Morra? There you go. So please follow Morra on Twitter, but not on days where you have something stressful to do. She won't be the worst thing on Twitter, but you shouldn't follow and read the whole.
No. You'll be good Twitter. You'll be good Twitter.
And also please subscribe to her podcast. I'm 100% obsessed. It is a conversation that we don't have enough. How does mental health and ambition and anxiety and achievement all come together? And so please, The Anxious Achiever, it's an HBR podcast, so please follow her there. And RSVP, December 15th, we will do this again. We've got the unbelievable Tiffany Dufu, author of Drop the Ball, founder of The Crew. She's going to talk about how to set intentions for the year ahead. So I can't believe it feels so strange that we're at the end of the year, although thank goodness we're at the end of the year. So we're going to set our intentions for success for the year ahead. And I'm really looking forward to that. I thank you, Morra. I thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Project Entrepreneur, for bringing us here today. And thank you to the list, to the badass babes, to the Project Entrepreneur community for joining us. And thank you.